Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on mixer.com/SpongePodSquareCast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan for fans and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you and enjoy. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a SpongePod Squarecast. I'm your host, Captain Eric, and we are continuing on the first season of SpongeBob SquarePants. I am finally up to date on episodes of this show. Normally, I try to get a few guests on, and when I have them on, I try to record more than one episode, so I have one in order, and then I'll let them pick another season one episode. So I can just build up, content to release. And because of this current situation that's going on in the world, I'm trying to stay away from some certain keywords that get flagged on certain sites as far as like, oh no, that's I guess too mature, or you're not supposed to talk about something. But everyone knows what's currently going on. It's the middle of April of 2020, and if you're listening to this in the future and you don't remember what happened during this time, go back and read it up. So this is the second episode I've been able to record at home, and the first one I did was one in between a couple episodes that I had to do because I need to bridge this gap. So this is it. Here we are. We're continuing on. For anybody listening who might be listening to this closer to release, I am okay. I am safe. Unfortunately, the job that I do outside of podcasting, it's a non-essential business that decided to deem itself essential. So I am still working during this time, which is thankful. I am thankful of that because there's only so much extra personal time and the time you may have saved and unemployment or the stimulus checks can help so much until it comes to a point of, okay, now what? So I don't really have to worry about that. But I've surprisingly maintained a level of safeness. So I'm okay, and I do have roommates who both have varying degrees of essential jobs. They're okay, so everything's great in here in the home of SpongePod Squarecast. So with all that nasty stuff going on, if you happen to hear in the background, it is currently a thunderstorm. It's on the mild side, and I have to have a window open because for some reason, even though the heat is off in my room, it just became so hot in here. The computer wasn't even on. I didn't have anything on, and I walked in, and I was like, this kind of feels like an attic right now. I need to open up a window, and it's beautiful, cool breeze, but I am fearful that the noises outside are going to trickle in on the podcast, which, depending on who you are, I'm someone who can fall asleep to rain sounds, and I have one of those apps on my phone that help that out once in a while to fall asleep. Maybe for other people that those aren't great sounds to hear and they don't like it. Thunderstorms remind me of my grandmother, who was so fearful of thunderstorms or thunder or lightning that she would shut off all of the electricity in her house. She wouldn't go and turn off the main valves, but if she was watching TV, she would shut that off. She would shut off lights, and she would, corral me into the spare bedroom of her house, and she would sit in the closet while I would lay on the floor in the guest bedroom, either reading a book or playing a Game Boy Color. And it's so funny because just a couple days ago, being at her house, she unfortunately has passed this world a few years back, but the house is still within our family, and cleaning her half of the home, I was with my mother, and we were in the room that was the guest bedroom, and I sat in the closet going, "Hey, look, I'm Nana during a thunderstorm," and she had a kick about that because she knew, my grandmother was fearful of him as well. So there's a little anecdote for you that has nothing to do with anything other than the rain going on outside. But anyway, so yeah, some big things happening. I'm thinking, and some people will scoff at this just seeing that my release schedule. I've released. The show has been around for about a year now, and I have personally released, it was definitely not on a weekly basis. My release schedule was very sporadic. It was maybe one a month, if that. I don't even think I hit one a month in a year, because this is, I believe this is episode 14 I'm recording. But then, during this whole situation and me being home and having a few extra time, I was able to edit, some other episodes and get them out there almost every 3 or 4 days. And our audience growth jumped up. Wow. If you put more content out, more people flock to your show. That's fantastic. And I still haven't even updated YouTube and Facebook with the videos. It's a hassle. But here's my thoughts going forward. I want to add 2 other segments to the show, not on an episode like this, but one of them I'm thinking about for reviewing movies or other cartoons or things that you guys would like. So I'm going to open that up as a complete user, for any fans of the show. If you want to hear my review or input on something that not necessarily a SpongeBob, but it could be another Nicktoon episode, a Nicktoon movie, a kids movie, anything on Disney Plus, things like that. I might have a weekly, little short segment review. I don't think anything more than 5 or 10 minutes, just for audio, if anyone out there is interested. And then there's another one that kind of in the same vein as reviews, but just more talking about other things I'm into. And there is a way to kind of skew this so that it still fits the moniker of the SpongePod Squarecast. So I am working on those 2 things, and I'm not jumping into those concepts until I feel ready and that I start getting this show out on a weekly basis. I'm just trying to find a day that I think works the best, and I'm leaning towards either Sunday or Monday being a regular release schedule for the show. Oh, for the show, excuse me there. So I'm always sharing what's on my head for you guys. And it obviously changes from episode to episode. So please, by all means, find me on whatever social media you choose. Throw me a comment, throw me a DM saying what you like, what you don't like. What do you think about these ideas? And for anybody who might throw even something out there that I didn't think about, I'm just going to give you credit. I want to build a nice base over here of fans for the show. What would you guys like to be called? Shipmates seems weird. I know I'm the captain, but shipmates seems kind of fine. But what are some other names or concepts? I wanna build this up. So of course our store on Redbubble is open up, as you can hear from the opening ad. So checking that out, repping the logo of the show, the mini logo for the show. I'm going to be throwing some designs up very soon for the logo for Video Bob Game Pants, and a few other contemporary logos I have working. There's a lot of stuff, and it's just me right now, so there isn't anybody else really helping on the back end of the show. So, all right, let's move forward to today's episode. Today's episode is Jellyfish Jam. It is the second episode of episode 7. Its sister episode is Hall Monitor, which you listened to in the last SpongePod Squarecast. Season 1, it first premiered August 28th, 1999 in the United States and May 27th, 2000 in Canada. That is a crazy amount of time between countries. And we're like right next to each other. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, there's not much localization I feel like needs to happen. I know that Nickelodeon shows, like the way things run up in Canada, and maybe if I have some Canadian listeners listening to this right now, if you can send me a message, I think, I check Instagram mostly, so find at SpongeBob Podcast on Instagram. The Nicktoons are not on one channel up in the Great North. I believe there's different channels that air different Nicktoons. SpongeBob's on one channel, Danny Phantom would have been on another, Fairly Odd Parents was on another, Jimmy Neutron. The one thing I want to know, and I didn't look this up, did Jimmy Neutron and the Fairly Odd Parents air on different networks in Canada? Because if that was the case, what must have happened with the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours? Like that, I don't know, if you were a kid up in Canada and didn't know that all of these shows were on, meant for one channel, they came from the United States, Nickelodeon. So they have these two cartoons on completely different networks meeting up. That must have, I got to imagine there's at least one Canadian child out there who may have witnessed this and thought it was like the craziest crossover. Like, oh my God, Channel 10's Jimmy Neutron and Channel 50's Fairly Odd Parents are combining. There's got to be one out there. Maybe they were on the same network. This is information that I would rather somebody tell me the correct information instead of me try to look it up and just butcher it. All right, so we got Jellyfish Jam here. For anybody that has ever thought about owning or kind of adopting a wild animal into your home, this is an episode for you. And we've all been there. We've seen baby animals outside, and you see them online sometimes where somebody, a baby squirrel or a baby bird just gets left by its parents and gets raised domestically. And sometimes they, get released back to the wild, and sometimes they don't, and they just stay indoors. Or they stay close to their human parents. This isn't taking a baby jellyfish, bringing him into your home and adopting him. That happens in a later episode with a completely different species. This is taking a presumably mature jellyfish and taking him into your home. It's like taking a raccoon outside, an adult raccoon, an adult squirrel, into your home and expecting them to kind of adhere to how you live. That just wouldn't happen. So before I talk any more about this episode, if you would like to join me, I'm going to be playing this episode in the background. My choice of method, as usual, and I always have to remind people, just in case, I go this is a wrestling reference for any of you wrestling fans out there. I go the Paul Heyman method, where if you always anticipate that this is the first time someone's listening to you. So, as usual, I'm watching this episode off of Amazon Prime. If you do have Amazon Prime or know somebody who does, who can get you in on the family side there, you get the first, I believe, 5 seasons of SpongeBob for free. What more could you ask for? I don't know where the other seasons are airing. I think maybe Hulu. But for right now, for the first 5 seasons, I am Amazon Prime bound. If you happen to have, obviously, the complete first season DVDs, the best 200 episodes ever, just trying to read out the first 100 episodes. If you have the Hall Monitor DVD, that would be cool. And if you really want to be cool, you can grab the SpongeBob SquarePants Volume 2 Video Now Game Boy Advanced game movie and plug that in. I don't know how many people, this is crazy. I don't know how many people know about this. There's a service called Video Now that released a bunch of Game Boy Advance games. They weren't games. They were on Game Boy Advance cartridges. But you would be able to play videos right on your Game Boy Advance. They were from Majesco. So they went right in. They had Nicktoons, like multi-packs with different shows on it. SpongeBob, I believe Fairly Odd Parents had a few of their own. They had Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. They even had full releases of Shrek 1, Shrek 2, and Shark Tale, like full movies on a single Game Boy Advance cartridge. But you got to remember, in 2000, when was this one released? SpongeBob SquarePants Volume 2 was released May 12th, 2004. Portable DVD players weren't as around at this time. Maybe they were. They definitely were, but they weren't as like really cheap where everyone could get one. As far as I remember, because I didn't have a portable DVD player till like 2006 or 2007. Or maybe, yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, they would, it would just be watching video on your Game Boy. It's not the greatest method ever, but for the time, it was really interesting. So if you happen to have Volume 2, you get Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Pickles, Bubble Stand, and Ripped Pants. No, that's on the front. Oh, they made a mistake. Okay. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Pickles, Hall Monitor, and Jellyfish Jam are on that cartridge. Apparently, the front of the box was a mistake by including Bubble Stand. Can you believe this? What a mistake. Yeah, because you look at the back of the box and it has Jellyfish Jam there. So if you really want to be cool and you happen to have Volume 2 SpongeBob SquarePants on the Majesco Game Boy Advance cartridge, go and grab that. Go and grab your SpongeBob Game Boy Advance SP, which I still need to find online and get a good price for it because it's probably the greatest Game Boy Advance SP there is. Put that on and you can follow along. Listening to this episode. If anybody does that, look, if somebody videos themselves listening to this show while watching the episode synced up on the Game Boy Advance, I will send you a free t-shirt. Put that on YouTube and I will purchase you a t-shirt from the show and have it delivered to you. But you got to be the first person. Whoever the first person is that does that gets it. Although I would love to see a bunch of people do that. That would be hilarious. Put that video up on the Goofy Goobers Facebook fan group there. Anyway, we're going to move on and watch the episode right on Amazon Prime. I'm going to be starting this right at the beginning of the title card. I'll let you listen into a little bit of the music so you can sync up properly. But I'm obviously not going to have that in the background because that'll be distracting for me. Hold on. That'll be distracting for me. It'll be distracting for you. It's just not good for anybody. So get Jellyfish Jam ready. And here's the beginning right now. There you go. You can sync that up. I accidentally pressed pause a second, so you can probably pause it for a second. Anyway, as we mentioned, this episode has to do with SpongeBob taking home a wild animal. Not just any wild animal, but it is in fact a jellyfish. I do think it's very interesting here in the beginning that SpongeBob disguised himself as like a rock structure with coral and a bunch of different things on the top of them to catch a jellyfish. The jellyfishing equivalent in our world, I imagine, would be fishing, or I don't know if bug collectors are out there like SpongeBob with the net or anything. Maybe. But it's like him dressing up as a rock would be like if you dressed up as a bush to go fishing. Maybe somewhere out there are smart fish that you could fool with that method, but I don't know. But the jellyfish equivalent to our world is a honeybee. The buzzing, the stinging, and the fact that they produce something so sweet. They produce honey, and jellyfish produce jelly, which is very interesting. And the fact that you're going to catch a jellyfish and milk it for jelly right on a toast, which, by the way, hold on. The fact that the jellyfish starts walking like him, super funny, always. But the fact, yeah, so the equivalent would be to go out there to where bees are, catch a single bee, or at least go and get some honey, put it on some toast right in front of the bees and just eat it. That's not going to happen, by the way. And kudos out there to any bee owners. That's an incredible job. I've watched a ton of videos on that, and kudos to all of you for being able to do that. So as you see, SpongeBob has the jellyfish on a leash. He wants to show it off to Squidward. I don't know how many of you wanted to wanted to take home a jellyfish after this episode. I have a very funny jellyfish anecdote for a lot of you. When I was a kid, the first time I went to the beach and encountered a jellyfish, no one told me about the stinging, to not approach them. I went with my aunt, and I will say maybe she said don't go near the jellyfish, but in the account of this story, I have no clue as to if she did or not. But anyway, jellyfish kind of surrounding the water of the beach that day. And I decided to sit on one, and I burned my butt. I had to be taken to the lifeguard station where I think they had some some anti-sting medicine they put on my butt. And then, we went back out to the beach and enjoyed the rest of the day. But I was not enjoying the rest of the day. I was so upset that jellyfish stung me that I wanted to do two things. I wanted to not only, I guess, get back at the jellyfish, but then I thought it would be funny to get someone else stung. So right near the ocean, I dug a hole in the beach. And with my little pail and my shovel, I was like shoveling jellyfish to go to this hole, thinking like someone's gonna put a towel, their beach blanket over this hole and sit down and get stung. Ha ha. And then I realized, because of how close the hole was to the water, that once the water came up, it swept away all the jellyfish back into the water. And kind of two and two came together, and I realized no one's going to sit this close to the water. And it's not really getting back at the jellyfish. It's just them continuing what they're doing. So here we have SpongeBob not getting along with the jellyfish. This whole dance sequence that I just talked through, one of the best of all time in SpongeBob. One of the best songs they've ever created, and has certainly remained in popularity. The Jellyfish Jam song has been consistently in the top 5 SpongeBob songs. I think if you ask anybody, and I know it's used for memes or for dances on TikTok or when Vine was on and Instagram. So I wonder what this jellyfish's whole plan was. I mean, he wanted to go with SpongeBob. He was clearly having a fun time partying. And they wanted, I don't know if jellyfish just never listened to music before, or what was that about? He knew, if I go with this guy, we're going to put on some music, we're going to party. The fact that all these jellyfish just came into SpongeBob's house is just incredible. It's just so weird. I like SpongeBob in his the fact that he has a bathrobe. SpongeBob's pineapple design is very interesting in this episode. You kind of get to see almost the stairs for the first time, and the different floors that he has. The jellyfish, the fact that they're smart enough to, the jellyfish are clearly smart creatures, at least presented in this episode. They maybe have never been this smart before. But the fact that they're not outright attacking SpongeBob is a big deal. They're just kind of messing with him. They're enjoying the music. They don't want to sting him. They don't want to hurt him. You think, if they're really that annoyed, they would just kind of probably sting him to get him out of the room. This is the first episode in the series to use any sort of CGI. Right there, which was SpongeBob's house kind of bouncing up and down to the music, is the first time that CGI was ever used in the show. The fact that the jellyfish were able to squirt jelly through the phone is always a funny sight gag for me. I don't know how SpongeBob was able to sleep throughout the entire night with the jellyfish partying, but for some reason Squidward must be so sensitive to music that he was able to hear all that. Squidward, of course, trying to play the clarinet. Right there was an error. I don't know if you missed that, but Squidward was in his pajamas up until the close up of him, which all of a sudden then he had his brown shirt on. And then he's back to his pajamas for the giant clarinet, the giant clarinet concert he plays for the jellyfish. I don't know if yeah, don't party with jellyfish, especially not all night. SpongeBob's living room is on the first floor, but when he pops his head out the window telling Squidward to play his clarinet better, he appears to be on the second floor. I really, even though I don't think he went out the window right in the first floor, I think it's one of those windows right on the stairs that he was able to climb up and go ask. The fact that the jellyfish make a little like tribute bonfire with clarinets, with Squidward's clarinet, is another funny moment for me. I don't know. Is that the first time fire was ever used underwater in this show? I don't think so, but I should double check on that. Of course, the music gets destroyed, and the jellyfish are just pissed off at SpongeBob. Obviously, if there's one animal in the world you don't want to piss off, it's jellyfish. Just being stung stinks in general, and from experience, jellyfish stings are not fun. Bee stings are not fun, but jellyfish is worse. It's like a rash that stays there all day. Where you get stung by a bee or a hornet, and I'm not talking about people who are allergic. Obviously, that's terrible. But I've had it happen in the last year, and it's just like an irritated area for maybe half the day or what have you. But I've seen people with some jellyfish stings that just it's blotchy for days, and they talk very bad about it. I guess it also depends on the bee or the jellyfish that you get stung by. Of course, stay away from the Portuguese man-o-war at all costs. And I'm surprised that even though SpongeBob as a show has had king jellyfish, it showed many different kinds of jellyfish on the show. They've never had like this really big, dangerous one that everybody should be afraid of. I guess you could call king jellyfish he might be a Portuguese man-o-war. But here we have SpongeBob, I think, showing the jellyfish that there's music out in the world. That's kind of how always I took it, because they were clearly calmer listening to music. And then after, of course, SpongeBob, and I kind of blame the jellyfish too, but there was the fight and destroyed the amp. And the music got ruined. The jellyfish got really upset. So what calmed them down was the beat from Gary's eyes. So he's, showing them how there's music everywhere. You can find music anywhere underwater. The anchor and the treasure chest are very interesting pieces. I wonder, other than Bubbles, if there's anything in that chest. Throughout the episode, the texture of both SpongeBob and Squidward's houses changed. They become lighter shades of the same color or darker. I love those inconsistencies. There's just things about early animation that you can't replicate now unless you were purposely looking to replicate it. And there's just those moments that older animation they weren't done on purpose, and they weren't really done on like an accident. It was just something you were doing to make when colors of the backgrounds, it was just design changes as things were going on. And just with the way current animation is, how clean it is, you don't really get those kind of gritty moments like you do a lot in these early episodes of the first season. So that was Jellyfish Jam. Certainly this was voted, let's see, did it have it here? I want to see where it was voted on during SpongeBob's Best Day Ever. I think it was this one, or it might have been on Hall Monitor I saw which was the episode before this. So when I pulled up the SpongeBob Wikipedia, it was on there. I don't think this was voted on. That's crazy. All right, so we have our workers on this show. It was written by Anio Torreson Jr., Eric Weiss, and Peter Burns. And, of course, creative direction by Derek Dryman. Our animation was Fred Miller, and Anio Torreson Jr. was also the storyboard artist, which is really nice. I like this episode simply because it gave the jellyfish a chance to show off a little bit more, except for just being a part of SpongeBob's hobby. It gave, of course, one jellyfish in particular a bit more personality, but it showed that all of them, they are smart. You know, the fact that when SpongeBob first walks into the room and catches the mass amount of jellyfish partying, the jellyfish are able to come together to create an arm to pick up SpongeBob and to put him on the light as a makeshift disco ball. So the jellyfish were smart enough to know to come together to form a different structure to pick something up and carry a person. But they were also aware of disco balls, or at least, even if they didn't know disco balls existed, knew that light coming out of holes like that would make an interesting party light. So it gave personality to one jellyfish. It gave personality to the whole flock of jellyfish. And it's a nice episode. It's nice and clean. Patrick doesn't appear in this episode at all. It's really, SpongeBob and Patrick appears in a picture, but he's not in the show, but it's really just SpongeBob living his life and his immediate next door neighbor Squidward having to deal with like certain fallout and whatnot. Of course, we have a very popular meme in here, which is which Squidward holding is playing his clarinet. And we also, this is a very rare time in the entire series where SpongeBob is very honest about how bad Squidward is at the clarinet. You don't hear that often. But this is one of the episodes we do. This is one of 2 season 1 episodes, along with SB129, with a small scene that tests digital ink and paint animation. And this is the first episode to use it. Now, I already mentioned this is the first episode to use CG effects with SpongeBob's house. Well, this is the first episode in which they were trying to test the digital ink and paint animation. It's when SpongeBob is standing on the hill in the jellyfish fields with the jellyfish swimming at the end. That was all done digitally. And of course, the digital side of SpongeBob would be used starting with the season 2 episode on a regular basis. So that's really interesting. So you're not going to find a purchasable test shot of that part of the episode, but you would be able to with the rest. So yeah, that was Jellyfish Jam. Great episode of the show. Of course, next week we'll have Sandy's Rocket, which is a super fun episode. That one I'm going to try to get a guest on because there's just so much that happens in that episode, and I want to make sure everything is covered. And I think there's a nice conversation to have there about space travel and whatnot in this day and age. So I'm your captain, Captain Eric. We're signing off on this episode of I'm Ready, a SpongePod Squarecast. Follow me on all forms of social media that you can find. We have a page on TikTok, a page on Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook, a YouTube. We have a merch store at Redbubble. And of course, any way that you deem acceptable in helping the show out, even if it's just a quick shout out here and there on the Goofy Goobers Facebook page or on a Reddit post, whatever you feel like you can do as a fan, it is much appreciated on this end. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.